So let's begin at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where you come from and what it was like.
What it was like. I come from an eventual family of 7. And what I mean by that is that my mother had 13 children, of which 7 lived. I was the second. My brother Dennis was in politics from a very early age. He was president of the YCCs, the YPCs, Young Progressive Conservatives. I was second, and I have another brother who was the third boy. And my mother and father were very young when they got married. I think she was 17 or 18, and he was 21. So we basically grew up with them. And I was born on December 28th, 1947. 8:20 a.m. Mother kept saying, the doctor kept saying, "For Christ's sake, Burl, hurry up, I gotta get to church." This all took place in Kingston, Ontario. And along the way, my mother had some more children. We then moved to California for 3 months when I was 10 years old. I got the worst burn of my life. I used to go to the beach every day and stay down there all day, every day, all day. It was horrible. I was 10 years old and burned to a crisp. And then we came home because my mother couldn't stand America. Otherwise, I would have been drafted or something in the Vietnam War. Thank God. I was only 10 then, but if we'd stayed there and lived there, then that could have happened to me, and I never would have been a drag queen, my God. It's warm in this dressing room. The girl has to keep her cool. My hair's not dry yet, I don't think. Or it's just starting to get moist again. I'm trying to make it look natural. It looks natural, eh? Don't you hate that?
Oh, yeah.
So once, twice, and then go back with our own sides. Right?
Mm-hmm.
At the screen, you can come back out.
People are entering the theater as we speak. The plot sickens. Whilst I just wrote my appliances. Postmodern kitchenette suite. Postmodern this, postmodern that. Intertextual this, intertextual that. I feel like a Julia Child's floppy disk for the theater set. We'll just take one new potato. How do you like my shift? And as you may notice down here, I have my 2 friends, the beavers. This is Gerline, this is Perline. You're the only 2 beavers you're going to see up here tonight, my dear. This fellow doesn't know what I'm talking about. You must be from the States, are you, sir? If you're in here from the States, beaver to you would be bush and quail. Same thing. Get your fingers out of your mouth, that's how I started. The first show I ever did, Craig Russell did my makeup. It was sort of a collaboration of people who got together and made me what I am today. I was living with this queen named Bubbles. She was a tall, skinny queen who thought she was having a sex change and thought she had this clitoris up her ass. And that's another story. She used to tell me, she says, I think I have. She says, I think, I think. And her boyfriend would go along with it and saying, yeah, I think she does too, she comes. It's like, okay, I'm always, I didn't know. What do I know from transies? That's my first transsexual, right? And she wanted to be a woman, but she didn't want to have an operation because she feared her operation. So she wanted to live like a woman, but didn't want to be a woman because she had her dick cut off. But anyways, she used to do shows to 511, and I saw it, and Madame Melba made my first costume. Madame Melba is a very famous person from the 60s and 70s. She worked at CBC in the costume department, so she can get all these costumes and everything at a mad time. And she was thin, but she would always wear fat suits. And so I have her original fat suit. Craig did my makeup, and he blocked out my eye. And at the time, I had eyebrows because I was only 20, 21. I had eyebrows go right across. I still do. I have to pluck them, but at that time I didn't, and they were right across. So they waxed them, they blocked them out with soap, and they did my makeup at 9 o'clock at night, right? And they blocked this out with soap, best they could, put makeup over it, and then drew on the eyebrows. And my show was at 2 in the morning. So I looked that soft come 2 a.m. and we were still trying to keep the soap down, because it was curling up right and stuff, and we're like this trying to keep it down just to get through the show. And I did Brand New Key by Melanie. I got a brand new pair of roller skates, you got a brand new key. And with a tricycle and this little blue dress. And that was a hit. Now I suppose most of you thought that I was going to be getting makeup tips for drag queens today. Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Depends on my mood. And of course how you treat me. Hasn't been so great lately, has it? But that's all right, my dear. How many drag queens do we have here anyway? Hands up. Oh, come on now. I didn't ask how many people here are over 16. Or still under 40. Hands up, come on, no drag queens? Excuse me, sir, you sir. You're sitting there acting as if you've never had a dress on before and you're like, put your hands up for the rest. And I know you're not 16. Or over 40, are you? Nothing like a new birthday to make an old queen cry, I always say. Too bad for you, honey, anyways. Someone asked me recently why I like to do drag. He said, Ginger, why would a grown man want to wear a woman's dress? Well, he was straight. I said, we gays need alternative religions to impress people like you. Just don't call me Moses, or you'll see the bulrushes. No, actually, we should get this straight. I mean, out in the open right off the bat, so to speak. What you see before you is a true bisexual. No, it's true. The first love of my life was a woman of 10. The second was my dog, Sal. You could be number 3. Some people ask me, they say, why do you bother being bisexual? They say you should decide one way or the other what you're going to do. They figure being bisexual is like being agnostic. You say you don't know, and you're not going to know until you die, and then you'll make up your mind if you got a mind to. Well, it may be easy for you people to put yourselves into one narrow little category when you live in a big city. There's lots of people here to feed your fetishes. But when you live in the Maritimes, my dears, you have got to be flexible. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being friendly, I always say. But how do you like this dress? Isn't this lovely? on Margie. She's marrying Bill Ferguson up from Tatamagouche. Bill's a welder. I remember my first sister got married June, you know, it was a couple of years ago. She was so excited, and we were all excited because it was the first wedding. It was finally getting rid of her. And we were all excited knowing she was marrying Maynard Ferguson. Maynard White, that was his name. Bill Ferguson's marrying Marjorie. Maynard. Kind of like the sound the gate makes when you're opening up the cows at the pasture, isn't it? Maynard. The newspaper said June Ettinger is marrying Maynard White. And the bridesmaids are going to be June's sisters, Marjorie Ettinger and Ginger Ettinger LaRue. That's it. Ginger LaRue. It means the red street in French. Most queens went through their life with names, girl names. I never had a girl name when I started doing drag. I called myself Big Bob because my real name was Bob, but I didn't want to take a girl name because it would follow me the rest of my life, and it sure has. Like Dot. Like he just said Randy Cole. Randy Cole's name was Luther, but he was called Dot. And it follows the rest of their life. I have a friend named Jerry who I know as Joanne, because that's what he was. He was Joanne to me, right? And you know, so I'm thankful I never had I always ever get, oh hi Big Bob, that's the worst I get. I don't get like hi Roberta or something like that, right? If I pick that name, right?
Rusty suits you.
Rusty suits.
Why did you pick that name, Rusty Ryan? That's a great
Russell
name.
gave me that name. But I think it also has I accepted it because it's very close to my real name, Robert Bryan. Robert Bryan, Rusty Ryan sounds very close. So I remember I was all so excited about the wedding. I said to myself, Ginger Honey. I call myself Ginger Honey. I'm going to make that product someday, you'll see. I said, Ginger Honey, you have got to have yourself a nice dress for that wedding. So I made this lovely black sequin number with a lovely black little sequin purse to match. I can't find the purse right now, but here it is. It's lovely. Isn't it lovely? Well, I thought it was lovely too, and I thought she'd love it too. Well, she hated it. Seems I was prettier than her. Everybody said so, honey. And Maritimers don't lie. So there I was at the wedding, looking gorgeous. And everybody was looking at me, and they forgot to look at my sister June, and then she was real pissed off. Well, I was mortified, of course, but what could I do? I suppose I could have taken the dress and walked around my little undies, of course, but she would have just put out. June's like that, And it's pretty bad the way the whole thing turned out anyways. Well, we're over it now. The dust is settled and all that. But you see, it actually wasn't my fault. It was a lovely wedding. I remember everything was all perfect in the church. And there was the town's 3 most gorgeous debutantes standing in front. Everything was going along famously until all of a sudden Marjorie decided to look back to see if Mom was crying yet. When she looks back, I caught my eye. I look back to see what she's looking at. Just as I look back to see what she's looking at, June decided she thought she better have a gawk at it too. So she looks back like this. And just as she does, that's when her hair touched the candle flame. Just scarcely glanced it. Well, she went up like that. All that hairspray. Well, I was the closest to her, so I started batting on her hair. She thought I got off on her and got mad. So she goes running out of the church, and with her hair smoking, and the whole congregation comes and follows the bride. She looked like a cross between Sigourney Weaver and Arnold Schwarzenegger running down the aisle. All that nice hair. Oh well, it'll grow back. Mine did. So you can see why I don't want to upset Marjorie and Bill, the welder. That'll go with Big One. Probably call her kids Dick or Debbie or something. I wouldn't call her Cow Debbie. I like Dick. Oh, but you knew that. So you can see why I don't want to upstage Marjorie. She said I could come to the wedding as long as I don't wear something as shiny as I wore to the wedding with June. Oh, I said, well, all right, you can count on me. I shall have a sensible dress. I said, a sensible dress for a sensible girl. You can count on me, Mar. Oh, and I just can't wait for the wedding, my dear. I know they're all going to remember meeting Tatamagouche. Oh, you thought it was pronounced Tatamagouche, did you? Don't you wish? No, no, Randy. It's Tatamagouche. Let's try it. I just happen to have some visual aid for you. Tata, to go along with my bodacious tata. Ma, to go along with my stomach. Tata, ma. Tatamagouche. Let's try that again, shall we? Tatamagouche. 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 I know it's not spelled right, but I was in a phonetic mood that day. Oh yes, they have great weddings in Tatamagouche, my dear. The whole town shows up, whether you invite them or not. Even the Avon lady. I remember when I was a kid, she used to ride up and down the countryside on her bicycle. I always thought she was beautiful and very mysterious, but you could smell her coming for miles. You could always tell the flavor of the month. If you're walking down the road, all of a sudden you get a whiff of something. And you hear the bike coming. Topaz again this month, isn't it? I love to taunt her. Mom said one time she was upstairs in the bathroom singing Somewhere My Love at the top of her lungs. She was like that laxative commercial. And she comes downstairs and there's the Avon lady sitting right there in the living room. Just like that. Mom said, I sure felt some foolish to see her sit there like that. But don't worry, the Avon lady loved her, signed her up for the church choir right away. Talk about your crafty audition. You can come to the wedding if you like. You know where it is. It's up at the Harvard Boucher, right? Just past Sandy Ganesh. Certainly. Oh, that nice old priest still remembers you too, I bet. Yes, you can all go together in my car. There'll be lots of room for you and your dress, no matter how big it is. And we'll all go together to Blood Wild Mountain Time. All around the purple heather, will you go, lassie, go? Will you go, lassie, go? That's a song to a dog. Do you like dogs? I do. I like you too, but I like dogs better. How many people had a dog when you were a little boy? You have a dog when you were a little boy? When I was a boy, you had to have a dog. If you didn't have a dog, you were a sissy. Even if you didn't wear your sister's dresses. Those were the rules. Boys had to have a dog. I had 4 dogs. And I wore their dresses. Not the dogs, my sisters. You remember your first dress? Oh, I do. My first dress. It was on Lower Water Street in Halifax on Gay Friday. My first dress, I was so proud. I wanted to phone Mom right away, but I didn't have a Ford. After the parade, these 3 hosers chased me down a back alley. So I hid behind one of the fire escapes and waited for them to go by. Oh, it was horrible. All of a sudden, one of them came right up to where I was hiding. I crouched down low, and I thought he was going to see me, and I said every prayer in the book of my ear, and I made up a few. All of a sudden, he turned around, and there before me was the biggest fucking erection I've ever seen. Well, it was gruesome. And then it grew some more. Well, honey, that scared me. Pretty soon he got pissed off and took off and stopped looking for me. But my dear, I learned something that day that has nothing to do with taking on 3 at once. My dear, they can make fun of me when I'm in high school, and they can chase me down alleys if they got enough of them. But I ain't the one walking around with a boner sticking in my pants when I see some guy wearing a dress. The reason I ended up in show business is because my parents bought a farm or my dad bought a farm, and everybody had to move, so I had to move downtown. No sooner I got downtown, I started going to the gay clubs, and I started seeing all this stuff being done. I ended up, you know, becoming an entertainer and becoming a drag queen. And so, over the years, we got quite famous and started to get around and everything. We got down to where they lived, and we played in a town called Shannonville. And we were there for like a week or a weekend or something. So the party's over, the show's over, we've gotten paid, but we can't leave because there's some rowdy guys that have been sort of harassing us. Like this happened in the 70s, late 70s. And my father was 50 at this time. And we couldn't pack up to go because these guys were driving around us. Because it was something like Shannonville was like out in the middle of nowhere, and so like these guys are driving around causing trouble and calling us faggots and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah. And my parents and everything are having a party, and my dad gets drunk, and so they're getting ready to leave. And my parents and everybody, all their friends, and everything, they're getting into a car that is only a two-door car. So there's two seats, and there's three in the back and three in the front. My father was in the back seat in the middle, and these guys came along and started calling us faggots again and everything. And all of a sudden, my father was no longer in the back seat, but was standing outside of the car and ready to beat up those guys. And he was calling his son a faggot and everything else. And he wasn't well. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have done it, but he did. He was out of that fucking car and ready to kill those guys. I thought that was wild. I thought that was terrific. So what am I doing with all this crap, you want to know? Well, that's what I told you, making this statement. We're talking about Tatamagouche. Let's get into Tatamagouche. You'd love it. You'd especially love it, man. The women have had the same hairdos for the last 40 years. Well, it's not their fault, my dear. They all go to Edna's beauty salon / laundromat. The girl in spin, they called it. Chin wag, I called it. But it's not such a bad place growing up in Tatamagouche. Of course, it would be better if you didn't wear your sister's dresses. But I did. So anyways, where were we? Let's make some more cake, shall we? So, oh, eggs. Where are my eggs? That's what it says to do. Eggs. Oh, here we go. Eggs. Lovely. Oh, big suckers. Ah, there we go. I don't think we need any more. You notice how most gay men identify with their mothers? Do you think it's a role reversal problem we have? You know, like those ducklings that identify with the first thing they see when they crack out of their shells? Oh, you don't know about that one? If a duckling hatches and doesn't see its mother but sees a raccoon, for example, and it goes around the rest of its life thinking it's a raccoon. And then it goes around looking for a raccoon who thinks it's a fucking duck, like me. Talk about fucked up. My dear, I may want to be my mother, but I certainly don't want to mate with her. No way. Well, maybe sometimes, but never. Oh no, my dear. That's very icky poo, even where I come from. Of course, I do it in Sackville. Ever been to Sackville? Bagtown, we call it. My dear, they do some scary things in Bagtown. A couple of years ago, they had this scandal about these backwoods family that had all these cross-eyed kids. So the social worker goes back into the bushes to see if there's something wrong with the water back there. She finds out the kids are inbred. Cal Supreme. Well, my dear, she brings them all, they didn't get all went up for charges, those hillbillies did. Called them all in, the judge looked at them and said, why did you do it?
They said, well, heck, we didn't know it was against the law. We was just funning. They got a lot to learn with. So who did you identify with? Your mother or your father? Mother? Father. Okay. Me, it was definitely my mother. She was my role model and my inspiration. Baby, you're my soul and my heart's inspiration. You're all I need to get me by. You're my soul and my heart's inspiration. Without you, baby, what good am I? I needed that. Righteous. Mama died, as you can see the mess I'm making up here, my dear. She always comes over when I'm not home and she writes her name in the dust of my coffee table. She's still a scream. Did you ever swear at your mother? First and last time I ever swore at Arlene, I was 17 years old. Disgusting. Imagine, my dear. Kid that age talking to their parents like that. My dear. I remember she was mad because I didn't put the garbage out, so she chased me up the stairs with a wooden spoon just to get to the top of the stairs. Didn't she haul up and get me a good one with that damn spoon on the old turnip? Oh. Boy, was I mad to think that she could outrun me. Pissed me off. So I turned around and I said to her, right up, and I called up and said right there in her face, I said, Seabird. My God, I couldn't believe it. My own mother. A kid that age talking like that. Oh, she just stood there. With this patch in her hand. I thought she was going to have a heart attack right there in the spot. There she was. Her mustache quivering. I thought I was going to hear the last judgment pronounced right on me and the ground was going to swallow me up right then and there. Finally, she spoke. She said, "You disrespectful little cocksucker." My God! My own mother! My dear, sweet Arlene! I thought I was going to die right there on the spot. But I didn't.
We had to work with a band then because the union rules said we had to have a band. So this girl, she was a wild girl, her name was Linda, and Michelle DeBerry and myself went to my mother's place because it was just like, you know, half an hour away. And she had taken some turkey out of the freezer for the kids for dinner, but we got to it first and ate it. And all that night, between the three of us, depending on how much we ate, we all got sick from ptomaine poisoning from my mother. We were doing this classroom scene, and Michelle Berry would run off stage and throw up and come back on stage for the next number, ready to go to the next number. And poor Linda, she had to sing and everything, and she was feeling really horrible. And I felt bad the whole night, but you know, I felt sick, but I didn't throw up or anything until the end of the night, and I threw up and I felt much better after. But it's just that, you know, from then on, it was like my mother tried to poison us because I was in show business. That was just a joke that we used to say. But that Saturday night, my father and mother and friends and them came to see the show. And after the show was over, the band was still on, so I got changed and dressed and everything. And I'm dancing with my mother, a slow dance, and she whispered in my ear, "When are you going to become a human being again?" And I said, you know, this is what I do, this is my life, this is my show business.
Actually, I come from a long line of strong-willed and fiercely independent women. I come from the kind of family where the woman will give birth out in the field, tear the umbilical cord off with her teeth, tie it in a knot, and she'll be right back out in the field working an hour later. If the baby was a girl, she'd get up and help too. It was very annoying. I said to Mom the other day, I said, "Well, what does a happy couple want for a wedding present?" And she said, "Well, June and Maynard are giving them a kitchen suite, and Dad's building them a bathroom." I said, well, I certainly hope it's ready in time for the wedding. Mom's a little upset about that, actually. Well, see, the thing is, my sisters and I aren't very religious. I mean, we had the wedding for June at the church and all that. That was good enough. But we don't like to do that much anymore. And the thing that Mom's upset about this time is that Marjorie and Bill aren't getting married in the church. They're getting married at Fred's Seafood Palace. Well, my dear, our family may not be very religious, but we all love a good buffet. They're having the wedding in 2 shifts, so everybody can see at least once. Now, there you go. Now, time to let that rise. Let's read the newspaper, shall we? Good old Tatamagouche news, my dear. Small town news, that's us, right? Let's see what's in the news. Oh, look at this. Even in small town, they had, oh, it says here, Katie Lange has decided that she's a lesbian. No. Next thing you're going to tell us Elvis is dead. Now, why did they bother, my dear? Why did she bother telling everybody she left? And Johnny told her she didn't eat meat. What was the clue here? Oh, I see the Procrastinators Club are meeting up again this week. But in its place, they have a speed reading course from 8 o'clock to 8:05. Let's check the personal column. Edna White would like to thank all the kind ladies of the church who helped look after her husband while she was sick in the hospital. Well, she didn't ask me. I would have looked after him real good. Let's see. I can't read here now. Let's see here. Oh, and the wanted here is for sale, secondhand tombstone. Excellent buy for a guy named Murphy. For sale, one folding bed by a lady that shuts up and looks like a couch.
We were on the road, September 18th, 1972. We played Fort Erie Hotel for 2 weeks. At $11.50 a week, we thought we were in heaven. It was 5 of us plus a roadie, plus equipment to pay. We made like $100 a week each, something like that, $125 a week. But we were in show business. And I didn't work for 2 months after. Michelle DeBerry to the rescue. We found us some work from the old group that she had been in that was our sister group. We're together.
Were there 2 imposter groups at one time?
No, there was a group that had come up before with Michelle DeBerry had been in called Phase 1. And that's where Greg had toured with them up until he got his own manager and went national. And off he went. They had a notorious reputation for being, well, like bands. They were just like a band. They, they would trash the place and stuff. They were horrible people. Oh yes, I can say that on camera, and they know who I mean. Lonnie Roberts knows what I mean. Because Lonnie Roberts he's a terrific performer, but he was paid, and he'd do things, and Jamie Durrett, they had these evil things that they do and stuff, and they know it. It's not like it's nothing new. If they ever watch this, they'll know what I'm talking about, and a lot of other people will too. I'm not trying to slander them. I'm just saying that they had fun. And so when we toured, I used to always make sure that we try to keep the places clean and stuff, and try to keep a good reputation. And I built their reputation. And by the time we did Outrageous, it was we were already 5 years into our career. And because of our management, only was concerned with making money. They weren't concerned about our careers at all. This is what I finally came across. We were with them for 9 years. It took me another 4 years after that to try to break away from them, because all they ever did was play us in places where they made 30% commission.
Time for the game. It's just the right temperature, I know. What are you looking at? Yes, my dear. Time for the traditional wine after making of the stuff for you. Well, a naive little wine, but I don't resent its presumption. Well, I love weddings, my dear. I remember the very first wedding I ever went to. I remember the bridesmaid had to come all the way up from Lunenburg on the train. And when you know that damn train broke down outside of Tatamagouche, and that poor girl had to walk through four cow pastures just to get to the wedding on time. Boy, was she a sight, my dear. Lovely. Her lovely white dress and lovely black shoes. And the smell. But my dear, when I get married, I'm going to get married all in white. Not for virginity, for surrender. Yes, my dear. And it'll be the happiest day of my life, my dear, all in white. I don't even care if I'm the bride of the groom. I used to think that there'd be nobody out there who could really love me. Love me for my differences, but I know better now, my dear. I know you're out there somewhere, and I'm going to be looking for you. Male or female. No one is safe. I shall find you, my dear. Don't worry. And it will be a happy day. And we'll all go together to Blood Wild Mountain Time. Time for the card! What are you looking at? There we go. Look at that. Oh, dear. We got one of those things going, you know, where you go into commercial and go back out and things all done. We're all set, my dear. Look at that. Perfect every time. Betty Crocker did it again, huh? Well, won't they be surprised? Let me just get a piece here. Save a little piece for mice. Save a little piece for later. Put it down there with the eggs. Okay, we're all set to go, my dear. There. Oh, you thought I was making a cake? No, no. This is the latest in accessories, my dear. Chocolate orange. Shut up. Well, I'm off, my dears. If you want to come along, you better come along. Look at the old car. Shut it up, my dear. Maybe I'll have one more douche before I go, and I'll be ready to face the world, one end or the other. See you, hon.